my goodness, I'm so excited to be here with you guys today and to get rocking and rolling on a scripts class. This is one of my very favorite topics, guys. For those of you who know this about me, I am a scripts nerd and I absolutely love scripting. It really helped me gain my confidence in real estate and get going super fast to achieve a lot in a short amount of time. And I think sometimes they get passed over. And so we're going to talk about not just what scripts, the 7 scripts that every agent should know today. We're going to dive through that. But in addition, I'm going to cover some mindsets around scripting so that you understand how to approach it correctly, because sometimes we reject scripts like, well, I would never say that, or I'd never say it that way. If you've ever had those thoughts, stay tuned. We're going to cover exactly how to kill this today in just the right way. But first, let me get my screen share set up. And then I have a question for everybody, but hold on. Let's see if I can switch this over. Bada boom. Yeah, there we go. Jason's laughing at me. He's like, come on, Jeff. All right, man. This is great. Well, I am so happy you guys are here. My name's Jeff Richmond. You are with the community today hanging out, and we are going to cover some stuff that you need to know. And I have to tell you, if you stay until the end today, we run for 90 minutes, Core 90. This is our training, CORE, Concepts of Real Estate, 90 minutes. That's the 90. But we got some bonus content just for you, some stuff that wasn't on the promise for today. But first, I'm gonna cover an overarching concept. But I have a question. And I want you guys to hit me up in the chat on this one. Can you guys tell me, do you believe that energy plus action will beat skill, or will skill beat energy plus action? In other words, is energy or skill more important? And you only get to pick one. Hit me in the chat. Energy versus skill. Who are my two camps? Energy versus skills. Are skills going to win, or is energy going to win? Which one's going to win? Energy. I got energy, energy, energy. I got 3 people. 4 people, Aaliyah, we got Chad with energy, OG with energy, Katarina, Kat with energy. What's up? Jackie with energy, Chris, energy, Angie, energy, Jason Giles was the first one on there, energy, Amanda, energy. Holy crap. Look at this, energy. It says an overwhelming win for anyone who was wondering if you need skills. Tammy, energy. Jordan with energy. Apparently you guys have heard me talk before. So energy is the answer. And here's my belief is energy plus action is going to beat skill every single time. Energy plus action always beats skill. Jeff, can you prove that? Yeah, let's go ahead and prove it real quick. All right, let's just look at a real quick breakdown of 3 different agents and their business, okay? And we're going to look at conversion percentages, which just means they talk to a certain number of people and they're, and by the way, agent number 1 is going to be me in my opinion. Okay, so agent number 3, look at this agent. This agent is amazing. 100% of the people that they talk to does business with them. And last month, they talked to 2 people and they did 2 transactions. Dude, 2 transactions. By the way, 2 transactions per month is pretty good. I still think that's great, right? I'm not saying this is a bad agent. I'm just going to give you some alternative options. And then we're going to talk about how scripts can help this today. All right, look at agent number 2 here. 80% of the people that they talk to, right? Maybe they talked to a couple for sale by owners. Maybe they talked to some people they didn't know. So only 80% of those, but they talked to 5 people, not 2, and they did 4 transactions last month. Boom! What a beast. That's an awesome agent. 48 deals per year. I love it, right? The average agent in the United States does 8 transactions per year. So they're killing that person. Now, agent number 3 has only a 2% conversion rate. 2%, Jeff, that's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. But they talked to 500 people last month, right? Holy moly, are you kidding me? Yes, they talked to 500 people. Well, how would you do that? We could break it down, but if you work every day for 8 hours a day, it's really actually not that hard. And with that 2% conversion rate, they worked with 10 people last month. All right. So what we can see is that your conversion rate, some people are like, well, everyone I talk to does business with me. I'm like, well, then talk to more people. You're not talking to enough people if that's the answer. If every single person that you talk to does business with you, talk to more people. I promise you, you need to suffer some rejection because your business will grow disproportionate to the number of conversations that you have. And I will ask you, which agent are you right now? Are you the person who's like patting yourself on the back, dislocating your shoulder because you talked to one person and that one person was like, well, I am your grandma, so I guess I'll list my house with you, right? Jason's laughing. I know. Aaliyah laughed on that one too. Am I saying that right? Is it Aaliyah? No. Aliyah? Alia? Aliu? Whoop. Oh, that's hilarious. Aaliyah McPhee. All right, I'm going with Aaliyah. All right, here we go. So before we start, today we're going to be covering a skill, and I just said action plus energy. You got to get action and energy, okay? Massive action is what Tony Robbins calls it, but I will say this. Today we're going to cover a skill that I believe gives you a massive edge in sales, right? I'm a sales nerd. I love sales stuff. I love Zig Ziglar, Jim Brown. Like I've read every book on sales I think that exists. I read like a lot. I really love this stuff, and I'm a nerd. Having just the right words helps you to get more clients and close more deals. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, right? Doesn't matter if you're selling air conditioning units or cars or houses or you're recruiting or you're selling oil rigs, right? Like it doesn't matter, guys. If you have just the right words at just the right time, it makes a huge difference. And here's what's interesting. I said, and all that jazz. Scripts are not set in stone. So we're going to talk about how do we approach these, and then I'm going to dig right in, okay? I promise you guys, you're going to have a lot of scripts to walk away from today with. It's really exciting. How to learn a script the Clark Terry way. Jeff, who's Clark Terry? Is he a famous real estate guy? No, he's a trumpet player. And it turns out he's a jazz musician. That's why it says and all that jazz at the top. And he's an amazing player, by the way. I'm a huge nerd when it comes to music. He's an amazing player, and he believes that learning jazz requires three things: imitation, assimilation, and innovation. I believe that learning scripts is exactly the same thing. You imitate first, which means you learn the script exactly as it exists. Preferably, by the way, if you can get a recording of a professional delivering the script, that's the best, because then you know how it sounds, right? Has anyone ever read a script and you're like, I would never say that. That's terrible. And then you hear someone amazing say it and you're like, well, I mean, like that, I guess I would say it, right? Like that's the difference, right? That's like the difference between hearing a kindergartner play hot cross buns and then hearing like, you know, I don't know, Van Halen play hot cross buns. Like you're still going to show up for Van Halen. I don't know. It's just a different experience. And so we imitate at the beginning, then we assimilate. What does that mean? It means we start mixing it into our day-to-day vocabulary exactly as it is, but it mixes in. But listen, as you learn more and more scripts, they all start mixing and blending together, and then eventually you're accidentally innovating, which means when your scripts are fully assimilated, you're mixing them all up. Then you naturally start to develop your own vocabulary, and it's you 2.0, okay? Because the bottom line is the worst time to start thinking about what you're going to say is when you're already saying it. I'm going to repeat that one. The worst time to think about what you're going to say is when you're already saying it. That is a mistake that a lot of agents make, right? They show up, they're like, I'm really great with people. I wing it all the time. Really? How's that working out? Are you hitting your goals? Do you believe that you are currently reaching your potential? Not that what you're doing is not good. You might be like, I'm closing 48 deals a year. It's killing it. That's great. Would 148 be within your potential if you focused a little bit more on pre-thought, on planning your business? So the very fact that you're here today, though, tells you that you know that this is important, and I love that, okay? Time for a story, and this is a real example from two coaching clients. The names have been changed to protect the innocent here, okay? So Joe and Sue is what we're calling them now. But this is a real story of two people. My wife, Lexi, and I, we coach agents, but I've probably coached north of 2,000 real estate agents. And what's fun is I get to see the inside workings of a lot of people's business. So I'm going to give you two examples, and I want you to identify with one of these, hopefully. So Joe over here on the left, he is not Mr. Social. In fact, kind of uncomfortable around people. Sue, social butterfly, right? We all know the social butterflies. The people who they walk into a room, they're instantly the hit of the party. Bada boom, bada bing. Everyone knows them, right? Joe's not that guy, which is ironic that we picked the hand raise emoji for him. But anyway, we're trying to give him some confidence in the emoji realm. So he's just not very confident. Sue, super duper confident, right? Built into that behavioral type. So that's okay. But let's keep going. Now, Joe, when we started working, he decided to study scripts to get his words together and build confidence, and also just understand with pre-thought exactly what he was going to be saying. Sue winged it, right? I wing it with people. I'm great with people. The words come out and they're perfect every time. Sure they are. That's awesome. Joe was very consistent as a result of this. And we're going to fast forward to show you kind of how this worked out in his business. But he knew exactly when I meet with a seller who's a prospective seller, or when I'm talking to somebody who might be thinking about selling their home, I say this, and it produces this predictable result. Sue had an inconsistent approach because she was kind of just feeling the vibe of the person, and that's great. but I'm going to show you what the results were. And I'm not saying, like, listen, individual results may vary, blah, 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 at the bottom of the screen. But I will tell you this. Joe also then amplified this approach by focusing on energy and action. And Sue was really, really confident in her talent of being a people person, right? So this kind of goes back to talent or skill versus energy and action. And what's interesting is Joe focused on both. He decided to build a skill and amplify it with energy and action. At the end of his second year, he had ended up closing 34 transactions in his second year. Not too bad, right? Like, I know a lot of second year agents who have not closed 34 transactions. Sue was in her sixth year in real estate and averaged about 8 to 10 clients. I think that year was like 10. I think it was still a good year, but 10 versus 34, is this the only thing that separated them? No. Is this one thing that separated them? Absolutely. So we're going to dig straight in and jump straight in. And I want you guys to know, by the way, I'm going to unscreen share myself really quickly. As you have questions, as you have thoughts, if you have comments, if you just want to interrupt because you're that person, that's awesome. We love leaving the unmute function available for you guys. So if you want to unmute yourself, be part of the conversation, that's rad. I love it. The only dumb question is the one that goes unasked. Or maybe, you never know. You might find the first dumb question, but it's better to ask than not to. All right, here we go. I'm in one of those moods today, apparently. All right, here we go. Here's what's fun. This script is called Who Do You Know? And what I like about this script, and by the way, the main part of the script is in bold at the bottom. I've used this, I don't even know, like a gajillion times. I still talk to people about this. And I send referrals all over the country, which is really fun for high net worth individuals who are looking to transact. And then I connect them with the right agent, right? But here's what's fun. I love this one. You're welcome to all screenshot any of these that you want. And I'm also going to make these slides available inside the communitycenter.com for all the members of the community. We're also going to post this on YouTube. So like, this is going to be available, guys. Here we go. Listen, I'm going to deliver this the same way that I would to a prospective client. So I'm casually in conversation with somebody. We're going to get it around to real estate at some point. So I just want you to know, I'm not like, hi, how are you? My name's Jeff. And then this script, that's crazy. This will be integrated into a conversation. It might be that I'm talking to Jen Riley, right? And I'm like, what do you do for a living? And she's like, I sell flowers. And I'm like, awesome, which she doesn't, by the way, she's on the webinar. But she, awesome real estate agent. But she's like, whatever she does. And then she's like, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, awesome, I work with real estate agents, right? But I would say this, look, I'm actually planning out my business for the rest of this year. And I would hate it if I was out of town when somebody that you cared about needed my help. And frankly, I actually love working with amazing people just like you. And I would guess your friends are also super cool. So I have to say, I'm curious, who do you know that I should know who needs to buy, sell, or invest in real estate this year? And then you zip it. And you might be thinking, I would never say that, Jeff. I know that you wouldn't. That's okay. But what I would encourage you to do is to say it once and then watch the magic that happens at the end of this. There's a lot of thought that goes into every single word of this, and it's a lot of fun. Now, here's what I will tell you. The most important part is the call to action at the end. Who do you know that I should know who needs to buy, sell, or invest in real estate this year? You're building your business for this year. I would hate it if I was out of town, if somebody that you cared about needed my help, right? There's so many trigger words in this, guys. It's just a really important script. Now, what's fun about this is you could call up every single past client. You could call up every single person in your phone. I did a training a few weeks back where I showed people I have 4,900 people in my phone. Like if you're running out of contacts, you're not thinking resourcefully. Grab your friend's phone, call everyone on their phone. I don't know. Do what you got to do, right? This script is awesome. And what I really like about it, though, is that we identify buy, sell, or invest. But it's not saying, do you need to? It's called a displacement script. So a displacement script, let me unscreen share really quickly. A displacement script means that I'm not asking directly for the business. I'm asking indirectly. They'll still tell me if they need it, right? There's a great open house script that we're going to cover in a little bit that does the exact same thing, right? Which one of your neighbors do you know who blah, 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 blah? Right? We're not pointing at the person. People are much more likely to reject a request for business if it seems like a direct ask from them. It's very weird. It feels like a take, and people don't like taking. In fact, it's weird, even the perception of taking. There was a study a number of years back that they did on chimpanzees. This is a real study. You should look it up. It's pretty cool. And what they did is they gave one chimpanzee one I think it was banana. We'll stick with that. Maybe it was apple. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Piece of fruit. Okay. So they gave one chimpanzee one banana. We'll stick with that. They gave the other chimpanzee 2 bananas. Both of them were ecstatic when they got the bananas. Again, 1 versus 2. Then on the 2 chimpanzee, they took away one of his bananas. And he was furious, because you took away a banana. Still had 1 banana. This one's still happy over here, 1 banana. This one is furious, 1 banana. So again, it's the sense of inequity or the sense of loss or the sense of take that makes people upset. By the way, we still are very much animals. As humans, we act the same way, we behave the same way. So when you start to understand human behavior, you can understand how to avoid some of those pitfalls. A feeling of loss or take from you as an agent will make people move back. It sends off a trigger in the amygdala that says, I need to get away from this, okay? All right, let's jump into script number 2. I'm in Puerto Rico now, so we hablo español over here. All right, here we go. This is called a financial focus script. And I love these because they really focus on delivering content that also answers the question, what does everyone need? And in fact, actually, before I read these, and some of you have probably already started reading them because that's what happens when you share a screen, but I'll tell you this, buyers all want the same thing. If you didn't know this, they all want the same thing. They want the best house for what? The least, anyone? Money. They want the best house for the least money, right? Like name a buyer who wants the worst house for the most money, right? That is insane. It doesn't exist. So they all want the same thing. Best house, least money. It's easy. Okay, what do all sellers want? They want to sell their house for the most, what? Money in the least, what? Time, stress, pain, something like that. I always say time. Okay. So they want most money possible, least time possible. I use the word possible because it eliminates some weirdness around, well, what does most money mean? So I always say most money possible. But check this out. Built into my scripts here, or our scripts here, we actually have that pre-established. The seller script. So somebody says, well, we might actually be thinking about selling our house. I would say, oh, that's amazing. I actually specialize in helping clients sell their properties for the most money possible in the least time possible. So tell me a little bit more about your plans to sell. There's nothing more for them to tell me about their plans to sell other than, well, we're moving to Akron and, our sister's having a baby and we want to be close to family. And, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but they don't have any other objectives as a seller other than most money and least time. I've already said that I'm a good fit in my question, which is awesome. Look at the buyer script. I actually specialize in helping clients purchase the best home possible for the least money possible. So tell me a little bit more about your plans to buy. They're like, well, actually, those are our plans, right? It's like that. Oh, well, that's pretty. What crazy alignment? It's like we were made for each other, right? It's like a Disney movie. We just stumbled into each other's universes. No, it's awesome. And what's fun is that this enables them to tell you about the specifics of what they're looking for. Well, we want a 3-bed, 2-bath house and the blah, 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 blah. That is awesome. I love it. Now, we could go from there and we can start talking about, have you already spoken with a lender? Are you buying with cash? Are you doing this and that and the other? You guys know that stuff and how to walk them through a buyer journey, or we could have that on a separate training. But this script opens up the possibility, but it also creates what's called quick alignment. And quick alignment is where somebody says, oh, I need that, right? We've literally value locked or value loaded a statement right before asking a question, and then we divert attention away from the statement and have them start talking. The big trick here is to not keep talking after the question mark. Silence is so hard for us as real estate agents, isn't it? We all know that. You put 5 real estate agents in a room and a black hole opens up, right? Because everyone just talks over each other. It's crazy. But what's really fun is, and in fact, I see a few rooms with multiple real estate agents in them here on the call today. So it's amazing if you guys aren't all talking over each other right now. But I will tell you this, agents are social. We all love people. It's great to talk, but let the silence do the heavy lifting. Tell me a little bit more about your plans to sell. Question mark, end of story. Let them think. It's okay. And the silence will do the heavy lifting. And what I can tell you is if they tell you about their plans to sell, you're already their agent unless you blow it. That's the crazy part. I don't remember the statistics, so I'll make one up. Like 99% of everybody works with the very first agent they talk to. That's a great stat. I don't know if it's true, but it's a great stat. And what I can tell you is there is some stat around that, and it's a really high percentage, and it's from NAR. So go look it up if you need the exact number, but that's a good one. And just believe me anyway. All right. Second financial focus script. Thanks, Jen. I needed the smile today. All right. Second financial focus script. Maximize this, and I love this one, by the way. This is a little bit maybe more kind of pseudo investor-y focused. If you're talking to somebody who's really kind of axiomatic or focused on numbers, this is a great script for those folks because it helps them to understand what they're really trying to accomplish is within your wheelhouse. Check this out. Look, actually maximizing the financial benefits of a real estate transaction for my clients is my main focus. And I really believe in taking the time to understand your needs before we jump into anything. Not everyone can, or excuse me, everyone can tell you what room's the kitchen, but not everyone knows how to negotiate a contract to ensure your financial position is protected. So tell me a little bit more about what you'd like to accomplish when you're selling. What I like about this script a ton is that it accomplishes distancing yourself from the pack. And what I mean by that is there's a perception by the general public that what real estate agents do is what they see on HGTV. This is a kitchen, this is a bedroom, this is a backyard, that's grass, this is air that you're breathing. It's like, dude, what do these agents on TV think agency really looks like? That's insane. Obviously, we know it's much more complicated than that. By setting yourself up as somebody who's there to identify and protect the finances that are taking place in this transaction, whether they're buying and they want to spend less, whether they're selling and they want to earn more, ultimately, that is part of your fiduciary responsibility to them, is to understand their needs and then protect their interests moving forward. By saying it in an educated and professional way, you differentiate yourself, and market differentiation is key to market. Be different, right? If I wore a dinosaur suit everywhere that I went, everyone would know me as Dino Suit Jeff. It just said internet's a little unstable. Jason, I'm going to set you up as co-host. By setting yourself up, right, in this case, and I think by focusing on their financial needs, you make yourself super memorable in a super positive way. So this is very helpful, very important. By the way, I have a lot of clients who use this script, and it is awesome. The part that really kills here is, look, everyone can tell you what room's the kitchen. It always gets a chuckle from clients because they think in their head that this is what agents do. I promise you, they may not tell you. They think that's your job. This is the kitchen. This one's the bathroom, right? That's a toilet. If you flush it, the water goes swirly, swirly, swirly. No, that's not what agents do. All right, I promise. All right, here we go. Number 3, this is called If I Would You. There's reciprocity built into that statement. And this is what I love about this particular close. I'm going to give you several examples, but it's like literally, if I X, would you Y? And what's nice is you're preloading reciprocity, which is that somebody owes you something. It's not really built into the statement, but this is how we operate as humans. I give you a banana, you give me a banana back. We're both happy. We both have banana, right? It's that. It really is that. So if I could help you get into a home by spring, would you want to jump right in and get the process started? Right? Say that with a smile. Boom, you're in business. Next one, if I could help you sell your house for the most money possible in the least time possible. We've heard that one. Would you like to go ahead and get the process started? Bada boom. Next one. If I pull some numbers together and look at some various scenarios, would you set a time for me to come by so we could look at your options together? Love that one. That's one of Lexi's. That's a great listing setup, right? To get you in the front door. Listen to how low key that is. But what you're saying is that you're going to do some homework. And as a result, they should do you the favor of bringing you over. Did you say listing appointment? No, clients don't know what a listing appointment is. You don't need to say listing appointment to get a listing appointment. A person who's thinking about listing their house, who lets you come into the house and talk to them, that's a listing appointment. So that's all you need to accomplish is going into the house. Sometimes we try to call it a listing appointment, and that's what makes it weird for the client. And weird is probably antithetical to getting the listing. Oops. All right. This one's a really, really, really good one. Who's already using if I would you regularly in their business? What I've noticed is a lot of top agents are like, yeah, I use if I would you all the time, right? Saw some hands there. That was awesome. All right, script number 4. I love this one because I'm getting asked even right now. I live in a neighborhood with a ton of really successful people, and yet they ask all the time, how's the market? Why? Because it's the common question that agents get asked. And here's the mistake that agents make constantly, in my opinion, is answering this question. Why are you trying to be a market pundit? Don't do that, right? What do you really want? You don't want to be known as a news forecaster. What you really want is to get real estate business. So go after the business in an educated way. Check this out. Hey, Jeff, how's the market? Well, like every market, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So tell me a little bit more. Do you have any specific real estate plans this year? That's my answer almost every time, by the way. Do you have any specific real estate plans this year? I have no idea how the market is for you. It depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? You can change it up, but what I will tell you is it is dependent on what they want to do. Is this currently a great market for some people and a trash market for some other people? Yeah. Was 2009 a great market for some people while an apocalypse for the banks? Yes, right? So it always depends what you're trying to accomplish. So I think a bigger answer than that is not a great answer, because what ends up happening is you accidentally step on people's toes. John, I saw that you unmuted.
Well, yeah, I was a question on that because I know some people are automatically going to think, well, I'm not really answering their question. I need to answer their question. We often think we have to do what everybody asks. Can you walk through the mental through that of like, no, we really don't have to do that. We're not required.
Right.
Can you walk through the mentality of that?
You bet. Well, I mean, I think about like John, and by the way, Cabo looks beautiful, brother. I love the life you're living, man. So no, what's amazing is I think that if I was meeting with a financial planner and I walked in the front door to the financial planner's office and I was like, give me a financial plan. And then if he walked over to me and he was like, well, here's your financial plan, without asking me any questions, I would think he was a moron, honestly, because he has no concept. If I went to the doctor tomorrow, I'll give you an example we can all relate to. Went to the doctor and I said, hey, doc, nice to meet you. And he's like, nice to meet you too. In fact, I have a prescription for you for Zoloft. And I'd be like, I beg your, what, why? Right? Like, well, why would I need that? He's making a prescription without understanding what's actually going on in my world. Maybe my knee hurts, which by the way, it does today for whatever reason. So what up, right? Well, I don't need that prescription. That's crazy, man. And so what's beautiful about this is you're actually being a professional by asking for more information before you try to answer a sophisticated question that requires a sophisticated response, right?
And that's what I love what you're saying, Jeff. And, that's the question I think that we need to be asking ourselves all the time. Am I acting as a professional or is I acting as an amateur? And well, I think a lot of that's just a decision in our own mind. Right? It's a decision in our own mind. You decide, so that question of like, I'm holding an open house. Well, if somebody comes in and doesn't act right, you have the ability to say no. You don't have to answer all the questions. They're a guest in your house. You get to decide. They're not running the show. And think about that same way of like, realize that you are the professional. They're asking the questions and you get to answer them the way you want. Because they're asking you. You're not required to answer the way they ask. You can change the script however you want. That's your choice. And you're going to win more if you change this around, think different, and do what Jeff's talking about. And get a little uncomfortable. Because once you get through a few times and you start winning, you really start like getting uncomfortable. So thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Oh, you bet, John. Well, and I think it was John who actually taught me that the person who asks the most questions is actually controlling the conversation. And ultimately, that's so important in what we're all doing here with real estate is sometimes we give up control and we actually let the prospective client or the prospect be the better salesperson. If they're asking more questions and you're just responding all the time, like you're the Encyclopedia Britannica of real estate, ultimately they're in control of the sale. You've completely lost control of the sale. And at that point, there probably is no sale that's happening. It's not your job to be Google, right? That's my perspective. It's your job to drill into what their needs are so that you can correctly write a prescription, right? Going back to the doctor analogy. And I love that, John. It's such a great great concept. And for anyone who doesn't know, Coach John K. Sellers on YouTube, by the way, I'm trying to get John up to his 100 goal ASAP, man. Go subscribe to his channel. It's awesome. He's got great stuff coming out all the time. Thanks for being on here, brother. Okay, so jump back into these slides real quick. So again, this just drills down on what their real needs are. That's ultimately all this is. There's no super duper magic here. It's just, we're not even pushing back. I find that nobody finds this offensive. I talk to great people all the time. No, I've never had anybody be like, excuse you, I asked a question, like, come on, that's crazy. It's just natural, it's conversational, it's good. All right, next up. This one's a little longer, but I love the approach here, and we're really baking in a number of elements. There's some stuff I'm leaving out that some organizations out there that might teach scripting try to teach, like some of the neurolinguistic programming, like embedded commands. That stuff is great. The problem is that unless you are an absolute top 1% professional at an embedded command, you just sound like a dodo when you try to do them. So I find that 99% of all agents end up really just sounding weird when they attempt to do that stuff. So I leave it out. But here's my door knocking script. So I knocked on the front door, knock, knock, they open up. I say, hey there, my name is Jeff Richmond with eXp Realty, and I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm sure you already have a vacuum. So listen, we're holding an open house here in the neighborhood for the Smiths over at 123 Main Street. And I wanted to invite you to come by and take a look. And then I hand them a flyer right there. Now they're going to start closing the door. And I'll say also, since we do have some extra buyers interested in the neighborhood, usually when we sell the first one, I was curious, do you know of any of your neighbors who are thinking of selling right now? And they're usually going to say no. And that's okay. I'm anticipating that. It's not a big deal. Occasionally they're like, yeah, Mary's going to sell right there. And I'm like, awesome. I'm going to go talk to Mary now. It's nice meeting you. Slam. Running across the street to find Mary. But then I will keep going. Okay, look, a lot of people are curious about how much equity they have in their home. Have you guys gotten a recent value report from an agent? Again, I'm getting away from CMA. Nobody knows what a CMA is. Stop using abbreviations. Clients don't know. So that I'll just call it a value report. That's awesome. What is that? I don't know. It's whatever I make it. That's great, but it's going to have their value in it. That seems like it's baked in. So then they may say, no, I haven't. I'll say, great. I'm happy to send one over. I'll pull out a clipboard and pen. What was your name? Awesome. What's your best number to reach you? Send that over. Easy. Name, number. Now I can follow up. That's awesome. I'll send it to them. I'm not going to harass them. Now, if they get freaked out or vibed out about the number part, I could back down and be like, oh, well, if email's better, I'm happy to do that. Or I could just drop it by. What's your preference? So there's always a plan B. I want their phone number. It's a personal preference thing because I like calling people. Call and text, right? That's my highest form of communication. I like getting their number. Weigh out your own energy level around that. I like the line about, I'm sure you already have a vacuum. Just so you guys know, I've used this, I don't even know, 1,000 times on doors. And I promise you it gets a laugh almost every single time, unless you just meet a person who just got out of an argument with their spouse and now they open the front door, right? Their dog is barking viciously. They're just angry, right? But don't take it personally. If they open the door angry, that's not your fault. That's what I used to always tell all of our agent partners on our team. So here's my inside the open house script. So now we've set up the open house. In the open house, you need this script, by the way. The number of agents who are like, well, I just wing it. I love just making friends. Good. While you're making friends, we're making clients. Let's make some clients instead, all right? Friends are awesome. Clients are even better. I know a lot of people with a lot of friends who have almost no clients. And I know some people who have almost no friends with lots and lots of clients. You guys know them. They're the people who are like, that guy's a jerk. How's he do, or she, right? How do they do so much business? Yeah, because they're looking for clients, not friends. Surgeon looking for clients, not friends.
Hey, Jeff.
Here we go. Yes, sir.
So one of the questions in the chat was, what if they don't want to give you their information?
Yeah, I mean, on some level, is that Mike? Hold on. There he is. Michael, what's up, buddy? On some level, if they just ask for a market report, I got to give it to them somehow. So I would always just say, what's the best number for you? And if they're like, well, I don't really want to give out my information, I'd say, well, no problem. Would email be better, or do you just want me to drop it by? The reality is they don't need to give me their address. I'm standing at their front door.
Exactly.
Right? Like I can do that part. I can mail it to them. So that's not a problem. I'd prefer not to because it costs, 48 cents or whatever. I don't know what postage costs these days, right? I could drop it by, which is fine if it's close enough. But ultimately, I'd like to get a piece of communication. So for me, I always go from best to worst. Best would be name and cell phone number. Second best would be name and email. Third best would be, because I've already got their address. Third best would be, I've already got your address, right? And I don't say that. I would just say, well, listen, I'll just drop it. Be like, what's your address? And then I'm like, oh, I'm kind of dumb. Never mind. Well, do you mind also giving me your email? And they're like, well, you already have my, right? It gets awkward if you go the other day. And can you also now give me your cell phone number? And what's your mother's maiden name? And right, like it just gets real weird from there. So it's better to start with the piece of information that's kind of like the pinnacle piece. Don't you think? Mike's a great agent out in Tennessee for anyone who doesn't know, man. Mike's a baller.
You know, I can't help but add to that, you guys. What you're doing on that is that, you know, you could mail
everybody else.
Go ahead. You know, I think the idea is that we think that, you know, the problem with email, guys, is nobody sees it anymore. It goes into spam. If you really think your drip marketing is working, you're probably wrong. Unless you actually have a tracking to see how many are actually opened, you would be surprised. Most of them are going to spam. They're not being looked at. So one of the things that you can think about, if you're actually door knocking and using the script effectively, is to create a 12-week series. So really, we used to just put in a post. We had a letter that went out 12 weeks in a row. Like if they talked that they might be moving in the next year, we had 12 letters that went out. Now, once somebody gets something 12 weeks in a row, you don't have to send us something for a year and they think they just got one. Because how many people have you went before? Like I remember when I was doing ads in a grocery store, you know, on those carts, right? And I hadn't done it for a year and a half, and somebody comes up and goes, I just saw you on the cart yesterday, John. So good to see you. I'm like, I haven't been there for a year and a half. So one of the things is don't get too reliant on email, and you don't forget snail mail. It works. It's most effective. So you can start with that 12-week series. Now you only got to mail once a month, once every other month, and have that follow-up that's going to make it work, because now you've imprinted yourself in their mind. But it was because of that effective script that got you to be able to do that.
Totally agree. I totally agree. And you know what's funny is I just to make some people on our team laugh, one time we were all in the bullpen calling for, you know, we would do 3 hours of calling a day. And I will tell you, I asked a person one time, and I was talking with them, and they were like, I think I've heard of you. And I was like, great. Well, do you think that was from our billboards or television or radio ads? We had done none of that, by the way. And they were like, oh, I think it was on TV. The funny thing is people have no clue, and it made people laugh. But what was funny is, it just only shined the light on people have no clue where they've heard about you. The memory is terrible, right? We all have awful memories. It's not just like I can't remember where I put my keys, which by the way, I never can. But I will tell you, a true memory, sometimes we think we remember something and we're 100% sure, and 95% of the time, according to statistics, we're actually wrong. Or some part of the memory is flawed or manufactured because we melt memories together. The brain is a weird, curious place, right? And we try to make it some masterpiece, but it's just not, right? It's like KC masterpiece. It's just barbecue sauce up there, man. So anyway, it's good stuff, but oh man, it's so good to see so many great leaders on here today. Jeez Louise. All right, I'll get back to screen share. Here we go. I got a boom, boom, boom. Man, you guys are crushing it. I love it. So this is the open house script. And what I love about this is that I'm now in the house. First thing I will tell you is if you're greeting people without a smile, you're losing the game. You're losing the game, right? What percentage of communication is nonverbal? I don't know. It's a lot, 70 or 60 or whatever study you're looking at, but it's a lot. It's more than the words that you say. The words are important. How you say them is even more important. How you look when you say them is even more important if they can see you, right? Tone of voice is really important, which is why smiling is important. Can you guys hear my smile right now? Right? Of course you can. If I get rid of it, can you hear my smile right now? You know, I don't know, like I'm exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying? Like if I lose that from my face and I just sound like this, now I sound very kind of almost aggressive, very military, very much like I'm on the, I don't know, front range. I don't want to sound like that. I want to sound approachable and likable while sounding intelligent. That's kind of my persona that I like to achieve. And the reason I say persona is not because it's fake, it's because I'm trying to be consistent. I don't want my engagement with clients or prospective clients to rely on how I feel that day. Think about that statement. What if you wake up and you feel like shit? Sorry to use that word, but for real though. And now you carry that over into your lead generation time. Forget about it, right? Every single conversation, you'd be better off just not to go to work. But what if you had a whole month where you felt that way? or a whole year where you felt that way. You still got to show up. So you need to understand the persona of who you need to be in that. And I'll give you a little secret. The more you smile and fake it, the more you just feel great anyway. Add a little energy. It's going to be awesome. Okay. So let me deliver the script for you guys. Hey guys, welcome. Come on in. Hey, I'm Jeff with eXp Realty. Are you guys out shopping today, or are you one of the neighbors? Right? And then they'll say whatever they say. Why am I asking that? Well, because if they're shopping, they're a buyer. If they're a neighbor, they're probably a seller or a looky-loo, right? Or they're there to steal jewelry and pharmaceuticals. So, keep an eye on. But if they're shopping, I'll always say, well, great. So are you with an agent? You can ask that a lot of different ways. That's mine. And if they say no, I'll say, super. Well, listen, this is a 3-bed, 2-bath. Now, are you planning on looking at other houses? You'll notice I didn't give them every statistic under the sun. There's like 9 trillion square inches. This one has a backyard and a sink. No, I'm not going to give them every detail right now. I'm not even telling them the price. I'm going to let them ask. Why? Because I want to have a conversation. I don't want to have a soliloquy. If you don't remember what a soliloquy was when you studied Shakespeare, it's a long speech where you're the only person talking. Conversation is where you go back and forth. It's much better, right? Are you planning on looking at other houses today? We're not sure. We just kind of stumbled in. You had a sign that said free cookies. Awesome. Well, listen, I'd love to help you pull together a few other houses that you could check out while you're out and about today. And they might say, oh, great. Yeah, that sounds cool. And also, great. Well, now, have you talked to a lender already or know what range you're pre-qualified for? I might give them a little explanation there. If they look confused, I might say, that'll help me know which other homes would be a good fit for you guys. Right? And then they'll say, whatever they say, my goal here is to get what? Somebody tell me, what am I going to try to get at the end of this script? I didn't even need to include it because we've already done it on a subsequent script.
Name and phone number.
Yeah, baby. Was that Tyler? Name and phone number. Name and phone number. Why? Because that's the best mode of communication. I want to get back in touch with them. I want to know who they are. So, but I need to let that evolve naturally. If I start at some agents, and by the way, to each his own, there are some agents that axiomatically will do a sign-in sheet at the front door. They stand at the front door with a shotgun. And I understand that approach. And I'm not knocking it. If that's your deal, go for it, baby. You just have to be consistent with whatever you're doing. I mean, don't do the shotgun, but protecting the sellers say that they're that's fine. I like a little bit more of a relational approach because there are some people who will come in, be a little bit more shy and guarded at the beginning. And then if you're a good salesperson, guess what? You can get them to open up, feel more comfortable. Now they trust you and you've got a client that you would not have had in that other method. And I like that. But my goal is to get them around to the point where they want something that I'm going to give them. Listen, it looks like I was looking while you guys were looking at the house, and there's actually 3 other houses just like this one, or similar to what you said you were looking for, or in the price range you identified that would be a good fit. In fact, I'm out of this open house today at 2. It'll take me a few minutes to lock up. What about at 4 o'clock? Why don't I meet you at the first house and we'll just do a tour today? How many people have closed a deal the same day with that method, but not by selling the open house you're in, right? Mike's nodding. Yes, I see that one. Guess what? Is the goal of an open house to sell the open house? Please put that in in fact, I'm going to ask this more deliberately. In the chat, is the goal of an open house to sell the open house that you are standing in? Yes or no? You got to pick one. Is the goal of the open house to sell the open house that you are standing in? Chad, no. Jenny, no. John, no. Jeremy, no. Jonathan, no. Bailey, no. Indy, to meet buyers. Yeah, there you go. Jen, no. Aaliyah, no. I think it's Aaliyah. She didn't let me know yet. She's smiling. Yeah, it's Aaliyah. Woo! All right, I win. That's great. So no, it's not. The point of an open house is to meet prospects. In fact, I used to tell my sellers that. I would say, listen, occasionally we sell an open house or your house at an open house. More often than not, it's like fishing bait and I meet other people, but that's great for my business and I'm happy to do it. And in the 10% of the time that the house sells, that's awesome for you. It's still just me showing up and working for you, which I'm more than comfortable doing. Plus, it's just great for your awareness here in the neighborhood. So if you guys are comfortable with it, it's a win for me and a possible win for you. Are you good with that? That's just being honest and transparent. They'd be like, oh, how cool, right? Like they loved that I would tell them how it kind of fits into my ecosystem. They always felt like they got like a peek behind the door, like, oh, that's neat. It is neat. But then if one of their friends comes by and I try to lead gen their friend, they're not getting a report back like he's trying to sell other houses. They understand what I'm doing because I've laid it out for them and it doesn't turn off my sellers. And now I get a pissed off seller because I'm trying to lead gen using their house as bait. I've already told them that's what I'm doing, and they're happy about it. So when we're honest and transparent, we explain our process up front, then the seller can be comfortable with what we're doing, right? It's really, really awesome. Yes, and I agree with you, Christine. Hopefully it does sell. That's awesome, right? But we know from industry stats, it's about 10% of the time. About 10%. Okay, that's good. I mean, it's not bad odds. What's up, Mike?
So I love the script for the open house, by the way. The one thing that I've started doing, and we just did a class on open houses, so it's kind of fresh on my brain, is I like to include, have, as a gift, just all the information I could possibly include about the house, like in a folder for them to take with them, but also on the other pocket, have some information on other homes that are available, including a QR code, and that QR code will take them to like a link tree that has a website and other listings that are in that same price range. It takes just a couple minutes to set something like that up, and it's huge because it captures information as soon as they scan it.
Yep, I love that. And, sometimes I would even go a step further, where we would even drop onto the landing page that we had created for an individual property. We would drop retargeting, right? So a Facebook pixel or something like that, a tracking code, Google tracking code would be awesome. And so those tracking codes only need about 2 seconds. The person goes to it to check out the property. After that point, I can remarket to that person every single month for 6 months. I think it's 180 days. Right? After they've visited that site one time, and for $1 per day, I can hit 1,000 people 6 times a month. And we'll run a separate training on that sometime. But that's the beauty of retargeting, right? What's retargeting? It's that thing where, like, you go to Nordstrom site and you look at shoes, and then shoes are showing up on every single mobile app you're on and every website you go to for 6 months. That's what retargeting is. It's where the web seems to know what you like because it's listening to you. I mean, it is listening to you, but beyond that, it's also retargeting. And you can do that. It's cheap. It's easy. You don't need permission. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. Mike, I couldn't agree more. And that's a really, really great idea. Thank you for sharing. Okay, let's keep going because I got ground to cover. Dang, y'all. All right, script number 6. Now, this one's not exactly one script. It's 3 ideas, and I couldn't help myself. I wanted to pepper in 3 of my favorite closes. And what I should have called this script is close, dang it, right? If you guys aren't closing, you're not doing anything, right? A lot of times we talk about a lot of things, but we don't ask for anything. And if you're talking a lot and not asking for anything, there's a chance you're not doing a ton of business. And if you would like to do a ton of business, you would actually be really well off to walk around to people and be like, need to buy or sell a house, need to buy or sell a house, need to buy or sell a house. Let's go, right? Like that would be more effective than just having meaningless conversations that kind of wander around. But let me show you this. Slot closes are awesome because they are a drill down, and you don't leave no as an option. What do you mean by no as an option? Yes or no? Would you like to work with me? Oh, that's 50-50, man. That's a coin toss. I don't want to be as a part of that coin toss. But let me ask you this. Would 3 p.m. or 5 p.m. work best for you for me to come take a look at the house? No, that wasn't an option, right? I gave them 2 options. They were both my options. Is tomorrow or Thursday best for you? 2 options, both my options. Would a small 1% price reduction or a more aggressive 3% price reduction to sell faster work best for you? Right? Why am I using percentages there? Because I don't like to translate that into the big number. I like to keep it as a small percentage. Zig Ziglar calls that translation. If I'm telling a buyer how much of a discount they got, I give it to them in full dollars and cents. If I'm telling a seller how much the buyer asked for off, I give it to them in a percentage because it makes it more digestible. It's a smaller number. Okay. It's not mischief. It's psychology, and understanding that psychology makes you more successful. So you can say, well, I don't want to do that. Great. That's okay. Not everyone is successful. All right. Number 2, tie downs. I love these. Tie downs are awesome. And once you start using them, they become part of your constant vocabulary. I'm going to give you a bunch of examples in a minute, but tie downs. Well, listen, in addition to our refreshed marketing approach, lowering the price right now would be the best way to keep your listing competitive and really get you sold. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree is the tie down there? A tie down usually starts with a conjunction, wouldn't, shouldn't, can't, don't, write those with an apostrophe in there. And if you really would separate those words, would not you agree is a weird question, but wouldn't you agree is something we ask all the time. But it's leaning. Does everyone feel the lean of that statement? Wouldn't you agree has better than 50-50 odds built into it that they'll agree with you? Don't you think? Shouldn't we? Don't we? Don't you? Etc. A couple other tie downs that aren't conjunction starts would be okay, fair enough, sound good. Those are all tie downs. They imply that the correct response is an affirmative response. Tie downs, by the way, I will tell you guys, if you learn nothing else today, one script that you could start using right away is tie downs at the end of all of your statements. And I promise you, you will get better than average recidivism or people kind of coming back to you and being excited about what you have to say. All right. Assumptive close. The assumptive close. What does that mean? It means that I assume the sale. I assume they want to work with me. Better than the alternative assumption that I assume that they don't want to work with me. That's terrible. So before anything is signed at a listing appointment, listen, once we have the paperwork here all filled out, we can figure out our timing for listing photos and getting our marketing plan all scheduled. Sound good? That's assuming that we're going to go ahead. Yeah, sure, that's great. Awesome. Let's fill out the paperwork. You'll notice I didn't say sign the listing. Signing sounds very official. And just from an amygdala response, you're going to get better than average this kind of response, like, ooh, that sounds official. Paperwork filled out sounds different. So it's about the way that the words sign, not what's going to happen, and they understand what's happening. I promise you, nobody's confused that they're signing a listing when they put their signature down. But when you say sign a listing, people do lean back from the table a little bit, especially if you're in high competition listing appointments, right? Where there's 3, 5, 10 agents all trying to get the same listing. So before anything signed, next one, listen, or before anything signed on a buyer, when we start shopping, you'll see how fun this process can be when you're working with someone with experience, okay? Right, like if they were a little bit nervous, I would say that. But what I've already said is we start shopping. What am I implying there? I'm creating the implication that we are going to shop together, AKA we are going to work together. Someone with experience. I just told them that I'm someone with experience, right? I've built a lot into that statement, and then I've just dropped a tie down at the end there, the okay. Really good stuff. Next one's back to pure scripting. And if you guys have questions or comments, statements, feel free to pepper them in. All right. This one comes up all the time. And we had this on a coaching call with somebody the other day. It was hilarious. They said, I was in there and they said, well, I'm planning on listing with another agent, right? What do I say? I don't even know what I was supposed to say. This is one of our newer agents, and they're already out there competing for listings, which I think that's freaking rad. First month in the business, get it. All right. A lot of times what I'll say to people is this. Absolutely. Listen, it's just like with doctors. When it's a big deal like this, it's always worth a second opinion, right? First off, you could just say that and leave it there. I gave a little bit more here because if you need to keep talking, here's the keep talking. Listen, I'd love for you to see what I'm doing differently. And I underline that word because you need to lean on it, differently from other agents to help my clients sell for the most money possible in the least time possible. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to come by, see your home. And like I said, it's never a bad idea to have a second set of eyes on it. I can bring you some good information. It's never a bad idea for me anyway, in case I have a good buyer for it. So what's this week look like for me to stop by? That's it. Leave it there. Be quiet. And you will get the appointment. Remember what the goal is. The goal isn't to take the listing in the first conversation. The goal is to get the appointment. Once you're at the appointment, the goal is to warm up the relationship and prevent other people from getting the listing, right? That sounds weird, but let's be honest. If they're going to list their house, they're listing it with you or who? Someone other than you. And my guess is you'd rather that be you. Otherwise, what are we doing, right? So this is an opportunity for you to differentiate. I'd love to show you what I'm doing differently from other agents. And some of you might be having an alarm bell go off, be like, I don't know what I'm doing differently. Yeah, you need to figure that out. It's called a unique value proposition or a unique selling proposition. And that is something that you can start to think about. With us, we would talk about Facebook target marketing. We would talk a lot about how we would position. We would talk about professional photography. We would talk about the value of our team because we had a team. If I didn't have a team, I would talk about the value of not having a team. It sounds funny, but you could sell either side, right? And so always I was trying to differentiate from the marketplace. Lexi has a really great segment that she does all on how to kind of debunk what some other agents do. We're going to take a really deep dive and look at how your pricing is related to the market. And I will promise you, I'm not here. I'm not doing her stuff any justice, but something along the lines of, I'm not here just to take a listing. I'm here to actually sell your home. So we're going to look at what's actually going to work in the marketplace, and in integrity, we can then decide to move forward together, right? That kind of a thing. So ultimately, though, what I love about this script is the very first part, just like with doctors, when it's a big deal, it's always worth a second opinion, right? If you don't have those words ready to go, you're going to be like, well, I understand. Good luck with the other agent. And I will tell you that is not as successful of a script, right? That's not the best script that we could use. All right, that was script number 7, by the way. I have a bunch of bonuses for today because I really wanted to keep this thing rocking and rolling. And then I wanted to leave a bit of time today because scripts are so fun. And what I'm going to piggyback on the end of this conversation is that there are a lot of objections, just so you guys know, that show up in real estate, but there aren't an infinite number of objections. And I have a strategy for this that we've used that's unbelievably successful, that I'm surprised more people don't use. I'm going to teach it to you here in just a minute. Somebody don't let me forget our objection strategy and objection handling strategy. Okay. One thing that we do here at eXp Realty is we share the value of our brokerage. And if you're a guest today, that's awesome. I want you to know that part of the reason that we do that is because our company chooses not to pay recruiters. They instead give that salary money that most companies spend just back to the agents as a bonus. The company pays for it, not the agents. It's great. It's a really cool system. And it's why our company has grown like more grassroots style, like who do you know, right? It's really fun and it's awesome, but it's also an opportunity for all of us to have conversations with our friends and share the value of our brokerage, as opposed to just paying even more money to our broker and helping them to buy a really nice car, right? And I love that about eXp. It's a really cool value add. And it's in integrity, by the way. So here's the fun part on this one. Agent recruiting. If you're new to this, this is awesome. Talk to your friends. And the greatest question that you can ask somebody is what their goals are, right? And look at how we've verbalized this here. I'm curious, what's the number one thing you'd want to change in your business this year? What's interesting about that question, by the way, is that we imply that they want to change. By the way, what are most people afraid of? Give you a hint, rhymes with change. It's change. That's right. And guess what? We can go from there. Whoa, awesome. Whatever they say, well, I'd like to sell 10 more transactions than I did last year, or I'd like to increase my sales price, or I'd like to net more money, or I'd like to increase the size of my team, or I'd like to stop bleeding money because I own my own brokerage, or whatever it is, right? That's awesome. What do you think has to change for you to make that happen? We've used the word change again. Interesting. Well, that makes me wonder, why are you not already at eXp? And by the way, here's what's interesting for this about this for me. When you learn more about our brokerage model, you'll understand there is such incredible alignment. There's a reason that for almost 10 years now, we've been the fastest growing real estate company in the history of real estate brokerages, guys. There's like 100,000 real estate brokerages in the United States. We're the #1 fastest growing for 10 years straight. That's not a coincidence. It's because it's rad. It's because it's rad. It's never happened before. That's why. So why are you not already at eXp? I've heard Lexi ask this so many times to so many agents. It's so great because their responses are so awesome. I don't know, usually. And I'll generally say something like, look, when you add all the benefits, plus as incredible as you are, it would be such a great fit. What is there anything preventing you from making a change? And I should say, is there anything? Sorry, let me fix that. Anything. Look at that. I can edit in real time. Is there anything preventing you from making a change? Now, look what we've said. Is there anything you'd want to change? Wow, what do you think has to change for you to make that happen? Is there anything preventing you from making a change? We've actually front-loaded the concept of change, and then we've asked the question again at the end. The psychology of this has a significant amount of lean to it, and that's always what we're looking for in scripts. This is the reason why a scripted approach plus energy, enthusiasm, and action will always outperform a non-scripted approach. And scripted doesn't mean you say the same thing every time. It means that you've practiced saying predictable things. You can then forget about them in real time. They'll still come out. But you will never have that moment. Has anyone ever had that moment where somebody asks you something and you're like, and you say something dumb? And we're all great with people. That doesn't mean that you're great at riffing in real time, right? Like I've memorized a couple of raps that I learned when I was in high school and they were awesome. Like West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground. We all know that one, right? But if you ask me to freestyle rap right now, I promise you it would sound like rap, right? It would not sound very good because I have no idea what I'm going to say. But if I practiced freestyle rapping for a year by learning other people's raps, and then I combined it together, same concept as what we're talking today. That's all scripting is. It's giving you sets of words instead of individual words that you can rely on that come up in specific situations. Here's bonus number 2 for the day. We're almost done. We've only got 3 bonuses, and then I'm going to recommend a book, and then we're going to talk for a minute. Okay. Bonus number 2, and if you haven't seen this one, I did this session about 2 months ago. I just wanted to throw this slide up again, because for those of you who haven't seen this, this is my bread and butter approach. I think if you truly learn about all the different closes that exist in sales, you'll understand how to get deals more. Agents don't close very often. I've heard so many conversations that just don't, they end in like a thought bubble. It's just like not a close. And closes help you to get the business. And I was very fortunate early on in my career. I had amazing coaches. John Sellers is one of them. He's on the call today. I had others. And every single coach that I had was like, you have to close. Like you can't just have kind of a dangling participle at the end of your conversation. What are you looking for? And then ask for the business and be specific. And it's okay if you're nice and you're actually helping the other person, it's okay to ask for the business. Sometimes we think that we have to like beat around the bush and be like kind of sneaky. You don't have to be sneaky, but when you understand how closing works, it makes it a lot easier to do. So I'm leaving it up on the screen. I could read through all these, but that would be kind of nosebleed worthy. I'll give you a couple of my favorites. Hypothetical is one of my very favorites. It's why it's number 1 on my list. The hypothetical close sounds like this. If you were to blah, 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 and then you ask for details. Here's how it works. Let's say that I'm talking to somebody and they're like, I would never sell my house. And I would say, yeah, I get that. But if you were to sell your house, is there like a magic number that you would sell for? Here's what's funny. I've had people tell me a number that they could sell for, and then we list the house and get it sold. What would most agents do that? I would never sell my house for any, I guess they wouldn't say for any amount of money. I would never sell my house, right? And the agent would be like, okay, well, thanks for answering me, right? They're going to be polite. But if you don't close and ask for the business, guess what happens? You don't get to that next point. My question would be like, yes, but if you were to sell your house, is there a magic number that you'd want? Right? I can go one step further. Oh, I'm not looking to buy right now. I totally understand that. But if you were to buy like an investment property, leveraging some like IRA funds and a self-directed, have you thought about like what it would be like to be a property owner, an investor? I can always go past. Well, I would never change brokerages. I understand that. But if you were to change brokerages, what would you be looking for in your next brokerage? Or what would you want to see better? Isn't that interesting? I would never lower my price. I understand that. But if you were to lower your price, is there a number you'd feel comfortable with just to make sure that we actually got sold? No, I would never. Okay, fine. Right? Like we can, but what it is it's one tap more on the wall to see if the wall breaks. And sometimes that one tap more is all you need to watch the whole wall come down. And a lot of times we don't go the distance. By the way, I tend to do more like 5 closes. But if you stack these, if you know a lot of different closes, guess what? Then you have a lot of different tools you can use. You don't have to repeat the same one. We already covered the A/B close. Narrowing slot close is just kind of an addition of that to set an appointment. Isolating the objection is the other one I wanted to cover today. A lot of times people will tell you what their primary objection is, right? Well, I don't really think I want to, what's the one we're all hearing right now? I don't really think I want to buy right now because rates, right? Awesome. So other than rates, is there any other reason why you wouldn't buy right now? Why do I ask that question? Because I want to understand if it's maybe not rates. Maybe it's like, well, we're also waiting for Bill to retire in 24 months. And when he does that, then we're going to move to Oklahoma. So it doesn't make any sense to buy a new house right now. Awesome. Now that I know that, this is a meaningless conversation to push forward on, at least, because I'm not going to get the business because it doesn't exist yet. I just need to stay in touch. They become a nurture lead. And now I can ask, who do you know that I should know? Are you guys seeing how these pathways start to emerge when you know what the various questions are, right? And the beautiful thing there is really isolating the objection is asking, is there anything else, without asking, is there anything else? So if I'm talking to Aaliyah and I'm like, hey, have you thought about selling your house for the right price right now? And she's like, well, I don't really want to do that because it doesn't seem like very many houses are selling. And I'll be like, well, other than the kind of market perception that's out there right now, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to sell right now though? And she might be like, no, not really. And I'll be like, well, good. Do you mind if I give you a couple of thoughts about how the market's moving because blah, 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 right? There's fewer people. A lot of inventory just got tied up. Pricing's actually driving up in certain key segments of the market, et cetera, whatever it is, whatever the right next step is there. But it lets me know if she says, no, there's nothing else, I know all I have to handle is one objection, not 5. If I can handle that one objection, I've actually got the business already. And if they tell me there's a second objection, I might isolate that one too. Other than those 2 things, is there anything else? Well, this third thing, awesome. Other than those 3 things, blah, blah, and blah, is there anything else? No, that's probably it. Great, let's talk about those. Then I don't have to squirrel around in the conversation and talk about the price of tea in China. I can just simply stay on their primary concerns, handle them one at a time, knock down the pins, and I win the bowling game. Does that make sense? Sometimes we make it more complicated than it is. People have problems. If you solve their problems, you get the business. That's how this works. It's really, really fun stuff. I love it. So anyway, take a good quick pick of this one. I really think this is great. If nothing else, if you've got a team or agents that you're working with, this is a super fun place to get started. And if you don't understand one of them, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you where you're like, what the heck is the magic window close or whatever. All right, bonus number 3. So this is magic words, and we're going to talk about a book that actually covers a lot of this in just a second. I want to send you guys away with a book that you should go get, and I'll show you how to get it. Wait, I can grab it on Amazon. But magic words are really important. What is magic? It just means that they have a certain lean or a certain impulse to them. Anytime that you use the words in that left column, you're going to increase the deliverability of your verbiage. It adds energy and excitement to words that otherwise didn't. Right? You have to use them in the right, you can't just throw it in the middle of a sentence when it doesn't make sense. That's nonsense and that doesn't work. But when you pepper it in creatively, and especially I use this a lot, I keep these lists around when I'm writing ad copy, right? If I'm writing an advertisement or if I'm prepping a script that I'm going to read, using teleprompter or like a video or something like that, I can use these words and they increase deliverability, they increase the energy and enthusiasm around that. And people they're not like, oh, that was a magic word, right? They're just words. They're just words. We can call them magic words. It makes it more exciting. In fact, the word magic is probably a magic word. So positive emotions, if I want people to experience a positive emotion while I'm speaking, so that they can change their state and energize, right? Overcome an obstacle, then really that's verbiage that's going to help people to thrive and feel success. What did I just do? I just used 5 of those positive emotion words. If I want to invoke curiosity, I could say, finally, we've revealed the truth and exposed a secret. You've all seen this on ads, right? Everybody has seen these words on ads. And those invoke curiosity. What is that? Clickbait. It means people want to click through. You could use that if you're talking about an upcoming listing, right? The listing that you've all been waiting for, right? It's fun. But people like that kind of stuff. It's fun. Why not make it fun and different? I want my ad to look like everyone else's ad. Okay, cool. I don't. Trigger action. Urgent, easy, simple, limited time, tested, and an until, right? These are really, really great. Trigger action means this is only going to be available until XYZ, limited time offer. We've heard that one if you watch late night TV, that kind of thing. Limited time offer, act now. So this is all good stuff. Gain trust, proven, guaranteed, leading best. These are words you can use when talking about yourself, your team, your brokerage, right? Remember, you're always trying to establish confidence in your abilities, the abilities of your greater team, the confidence that you have with maybe the community, or if you're working in a team or you own a team, whatever that is, et cetera, et cetera. Your brokerage, right? That's really important. EXP Realty, blah, blah, blah. That's awesome. But you can use these words: proven, guaranteed, leading best. There's others. These are some of my favorites. And social proof. Most people, everyone, so many people. The number of times I've said to people, you will be amazed when you see our marketing plan. You'll understand why so many people are choosing to list with us. What is so many people? That is not a specific number. You could start using that. It's great verbiage, and it has a lot of lean built into it. And who's us? I don't know. All right. So how about being deceptive? If you have no listings, don't say that. But if you have 5, get at it. All right. Here's the book recommendations. My last slide for the day. There's a link right there. If you want it, I'll put it in the chat. But what I will tell you is this. I've read the one on the left, Exactly What to Say. That's the original by Phil M. Jones. I found out recently that Chris Smith and Jimmy Mackin, two of my very favorite podcast hosts in the real estate space, they did the Curator podcast way back in the day. I think they called it the Water Cooler podcast, but they were really just selling their platform through Curator. But they crushed it on that podcast. I learned a ton from it. I love these guys. And they wrote a rewrite of Phil Jones's book, Exactly What to Say. It's the Real Estate Agent Edition, which I think is kind of cool. It's cool revision. So I just ordered it. I'm going to read it. But I will tell you this, even if you get the one on the left, that's the Phil Jones version, the original. That's one of my favorite books on sales. I freaking love that book. And guess what? It will help you with knowing a lot of unbelievably powerful small phrases that you can start peppering into your vocabulary. I tried not to steal a lot of it for today because I didn't want to just present his ideas as my own, but I wanted to tell you about the book so that if you're like, I like this idea of having kind of a predictable set of vocabulary that I can bring to bear in my conversations to move myself forward. So there you go. And I put the link in the chat, and I'm going to hit pause on Jeff real quick to say, I know we have some amazing, I'm looking through here and we have like 10 or 15 icon agents. And for those of you who don't know, if you're here kind of visiting with us today, icon agents are people who are top producers at EXP. We give them a little trophy, and then we give them a $16,000 ownership award in the company. That's the other thing that we do. It's pretty cool. It's like becoming an equity partner because you're a top producer. And we just believe that top producers should be valued with something more than a piece of paper. But what's really exciting is we have like 15 of those on the call today. It's so rad. But I would love to hear from all of you guys. It's so many great producers, amazing agents. How many people have leveraged some scripts in your business? I see Jason jumping in right away. I love that. Hey, Jason, what's going on, brother?
So what I wanted to share, man, this is always powerful. Okay. And you know, we went back, what John was saying was asking questions. What you were saying was asking questions. Here's a big one I'd love to share is that we need to make sure we're asking when they say to us, I already have an agent, we need to ask them, fantastic. So you've already interviewed other agents to make sure you have the right one to save you the most money. Make sure that, I mean, because sometimes they don't already have an agent. Sometimes they have a friend that they know that has an agent. So I just kind of wanted to share that, you know, asking questions is huge. And I also wanted to find out if you have scripts for cold calling, like, you know, for leads coming in.
Yeah,
and the last,
I do. Yeah, keep going. Because but I am going to say this on the agent thing. The other question that I would ask people a lot of times, because I'll hear that you hear that one a lot of times in an open house, and it's a quick turn down, and I'll say, "Oh, bummer." I'm like, "So you actually signed a contract with an agent already?" Because having an agent doesn't mean that you have an agent who's a friend. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've even talked to somebody on the phone. That's an interview. That's great. Having an agent is a contractual relationship. It's called agency, right? Just for clarity for everyone, this isn't about being gamey. It's about helping the client to understand that just because they've talked to someone doesn't mean that they have to use them, right? And I love that that's where your head is, Jason. What else did you have there? Sorry.
Well, also, you know, with the cold calling, what I found out, because I used to be, you know, I was scared making calls. And then I finally got to a point that I realized that, you know, on these cold calls, I'll have somebody that will yell at me and hang up on me. Well, guess what? I'm going to call them back probably in about a week because they're not going to remember who I was. I've had ones where we've turned them into clients after that, where we've called up and maybe now I've changed my script or I've approached it differently. And I get on the phone with them. We have a great conversation. Next thing you know, we're getting pre-approved to buy a house. So, you know, for what it's worth, don't be afraid if you get some of these cold calls and they hang up on you and, you know, hey, don't ever call me again. You know, they've probably registered on 3 or 4 sites and they're not going to remember that you were the one that called them. They're not going to remember that they hung up on you. So keep going after it until they block you and they unsubscribe, you know, so just want to share that. Right. Buy or die. Right.
Well, that's it. And I absolutely love that. I mean, the bottom line is I think this all has to do with whether or not we're willing to ask for the business and pursue the business versus waiting for it to come to us. And a year ago, waiting for it to come to us worked, right? How many people were like, yeah, if you could fog a mirror in 2022, you could close a real estate transaction, right? Like somebody would show up. It was just awesome. You're just like, I have a license, and then you had 10 clients. In this economy, it's a different scenario. And it's not that there's no business, it's that it's a job. It always was. it was just a job with an amplifier kind of built onto it before. And now the obligations of actually doing the job of real estate agent, which I believe means that you prospect for new business. That's the job of real estate agent. The job of transaction coordinator is a different job. And you can do both jobs simultaneously, which is awesome. But the job of being an agent is finding business, because without that, guess what? You're not doing anything. You're not actually in business unless you're finding new business, which is so exciting. And that's what Jason's an incredible agent for anyone who doesn't know. This guy's fierce. But what I will also say, Jason, is yes, I have a lot of scripts for expireds and FSBOs. I didn't want to like cover those today necessarily, but that's definitely a session that we could do and dig into those. The bottom line, though, is a lot of the concepts remain the same. It's be polite, figure out what their needs are. In fact, there's a concept in coaching called the GROW model, GROW, which really just is asking someone what their goal is, figuring out where they are right now, exploring their options, goal, reality, options, and then what they will do, right? And my approach is really exploring that on an initial call. Well, what were you trying to achieve? I could see that you were listed. Well, I don't want to list again. I understand, but what were you trying to achieve? Well, I'll never list again, right? But if you'd gotten an acceptable offer last week, would you have accepted it? Well, yeah, okay. So you still want to sell, just hate agents right now, and I understand, right? I've met some of those agents too. So no worries. But what were you trying to achieve? What was your goal? We're trying to get to their goal because they had a reason that they were trying to sell. It wasn't just because they like vacuuming, right? We all hate vacuuming. When you're trying to sell the house, you got to vacuum 3 times a day. It's somehow dust finds your house extra when you're trying to sell. It's just the worst thing on the planet. So nobody likes selling their house. They had an objective. So if I'm talking to an expired, I just want to understand what's their goal. Where's their reality? I can kind of figure that out. Okay, so your reality is, or right now, I could use that instead of reality. Right now, you tried to sell with an agent. Seems like maybe in a weak moment, you found a weak agent. That's an old script in real estate. If you know the agent, maybe don't call them a weak, don't call them a weak agent. Sounds like maybe it wasn't a good fit. What are you looking at as your options moving forward? Obviously, you could interview agents and try and find someone with the expertise, background, and experience necessary to get your home sold in the time frame allotted, rather than just listing it again. It sounds like you want to sell it, right? What are your other options? Well, I might sell it myself. Yeah, that's always an option. What else? You don't have to fight. And then, great. Listen, I'd love to walk you through what we do differently, sounds like, than the agent who worked with you previously. Well, can you tell me on the call? It's pretty visual. Why don't we meet in person? Plus, I'd love to see the house. How's 4:30 today? Or is 5:30 tomorrow work better? Slot close, right? I can just start going down those pathways and use all the stuff we've talked about on the call today to just keep moving. I don't ever have to stop just because they give me a no. But anyway, that's really, really good stuff, Jason. Who else has something that they wanted to bring to the man, Jason, thank you very much. Gets my head going. I love it.
Did you cover asking for referrals? I came in a little bit late.
Asking for referrals, we kind of did up front. With the hold on.
So
whoops.
I've got a little piece of something that I always kind of like tout to people.
Yep, this guy right here. That was our first script for the day. Planning out my business for the rest of the year, and I'd hate it if I was out of town when somebody that you cared about needed my help. Right. This was the who do you know that I should know who needs to buy, sell, or invest in real estate this year. But I'm always in the belief that our scripting vocabulary can continue to improve, right? It's like if I was learning shred metal guitar, I just want to learn the next lick once I got that lick down, right? So what's the next lick? Tyler, what you got?
So one of my favorite things about cold calling, and if I'm like going through a calling list, if I get on the phone with somebody that does not want to talk about real estate, I'm going to try to keep that human being on the phone for as long as I can. And as I lead that, I called somebody the other day and they're like, oh yeah, I'm never moving, blah, 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 blah. And like, we just put in a new deck. We just put in a new pool, and automatically was like, dude, my wife and I have always wanted a pool. And like, how much did it cost you? And continued the conversation. But if you can keep somebody for like 20 or 30 minutes, and like it's my favorite script because it's not a script until the very end, when you can cap it off with just a nice, like, man, I've got a jet, like, it's been awesome talking to you. Like, you're freaking phenomenal. I've got to say, like, do you know anybody who's actually like looking to buy or sell a house right now? Because if they're affiliated with you, like, they've got to be amazing human beings.
I love it. Yeah. Tyler, the beautiful thing is I used to call that filibustering a sale. And the interesting thing is you're building rapport. Generally, people will turn you down early on. It's kind of like door knocking. If anybody's ever gone door knocking, what's the person's first instinct when they open the door and realize that it's you on the other side, right? They really want to close the door. You can see it. Most people actually try to, oh, thanks, we're fine. Like you have to rush into that. And people feel the same way on the phone, even if they know you, by the way, and they understand that it's a business call. Half the time they're just like, I got other stuff, man. Like Hulu just came out with a new episode. I just gotta, I want to rub sandpaper on my eyeballs, like anything other than this conversation. Like they just, people want to get away from sales environments. But when you just warm up the conversation, they warm up to the question. You can even ask at the end of that, if they told you about the pool, like, listen, I understand you never want to sell. Just so you know, you could probably make a mind-blowing amount of equity sale on based on what you told me earlier. Like, I'm not going to pressure you, but just keep my number, man. Whatever you're going to say right there, but like prompt their curiosity and then keep in touch. I think that's the way to do it. That's really, really cool. I love that, Tyler. I see Jonathan Spang, same team. Although down in Phoenix, incredible agent in Phoenix, Arizona, for anybody who doesn't know, also a beast. You've been working out hard recently, brother.
Thanks, man.
He's What's okay. He's lost a few pounds.
I'm just trying to get as strong as Mike.
Right.
One day, man. Just need you. Hey, thank you.
Oh, Mike muted himself.
All he said was Holt smash.
Sorry, steak and potatoes. If you eat enough steak and potatoes, eventually you'll get there.
I love it.
Hey, I hit 345 squat for 2 this morning, so I'm getting there.
All right. So what you got, man? What you got on script?
I wanted to plug your book recommendation here.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man. It's for those that like struggle with objections, right? Like Tyler, I think you even said it, right? You're either green and growing or ripe and rotten. Somebody said that in our email. It's a super cool book. What I like, it's got this, I don't know if it's got this field guide. Yeah. So like, types and moments, objections, magic words, right? So it's like the first one is expired. Somebody says, oh, I'm going to relist with the same agent again. The magic words, how important is it that the next time you list your property, it actually sells for a price you're happy with?
Yep.
Right. Like there's dozens of them in here.
Who doesn't want that book, right?
Right.
Like,
Facebook
you're crazy
buyer
if you don't want that.
Zillow leads, like there's all kinds of stuff in there. So I've got like 72 sticky notes around my monitor that, I can pick through when those, objections come up. So yeah,
well, and Jonathan,
it was like $15-20 or whatever, but
you're the right guy to ask this question too, because you're such a great and hard worker, and I always watch all your stuff on social. I'm curious, so that's a skills-based book, right? And we all know that. If you take all the skills from that book and you apply no energy and no action, what happens?
You fall on your face.
You fall on your face. You certainly won't become Jonathan friggin' Spang, right? Like you won't do a ton of deals.
I noticed Mike there, like I've got a baseball that I caught at a game. So I'll throw that around. I'll stand, like I have a standing desk normally. Yep. So when I'm called,
me too, man.
I'll stand up, I'll move, because like it's real easy to like slouch over and be like, oh, hey, this is Jonathan, you know, but yeah, like Jeff, I've always noticed you both like in person and on calls, like you're always smiling, right? And you can tell that energy becomes palpable, right? I'll even like psych myself up. I'm like, all right, I don't want to smile, but I'm going to smile. And then, that that tonality increases and people can feel that energy, even when they're like, piss off, don't call me. I don't know who said, Jason, like when they hang up, like I like to call them right back personally and be like, oh, we got disconnected. I'm sorry. And I've never like assuming that they answer the phone. Nobody's ever been like, oh no, I hung up on you. Like, I'm like, oh, right. They're not going to admit that they were being jerks and hung up.
And there's so many, and by the way, there's so many good scripts. I love Chris Smith and Jimmy Mackin, so I'm going to double down or triple down or quadruple down wherever we're at on that book. And I will say though, you have to apply energy to your approach. And I just saw, FYI, that Scott put a killer script here in the chat. Do you know anyone who should be buying or selling any real estate that could get an improved result in my experience? Right? Like, I love that. That's beautiful because it's implying that the experience will be better. And also my thing on whether it's expireds or FSBOs or talking to people who already have an obligation, anytime you're having to compete for the business, you are, in my opinion, you are now doing the job of being in real estate. That's the job, right? If you're waiting for money to fall into your lap, that's not a job, guys. And everyone can close a deal. How many people know an absolute moron real estate agent who has managed to close a transaction? I'm going to say it that way, right? Like, unfortunately, that's a little rude, but I know some. Hopefully, none on this call. I'm not seeing any, so that's good. But right, like, we all know that person. How did they close a deal? It's because that part isn't the job. The reason some people do 50 or 100 or 200 or 500 transactions is because they're approaching the business of real estate like it's a business, which means that they understand that the primary focus of a business must be intake and creating new business opportunities. Otherwise, what are they doing? They're really talking into the void and nothing's happening, right? It's really, really good stuff. Okay, we got 3 minutes left. Who's got some parting shots? I know somebody else had their hand raised. I thought I saw somebody else. Joanne Graham.
I wanted to give my script that I give when I get cold called.
Oh my goodness. I'm nervous now.
So I smile and I'm on the phone. It's like, this is HUD and we're looking for a local representative or whoever it is, right? We get calls all day from these, right? And I smile and I say, oh, hi, how are you? Good. Okay, you know what? We're not going to be doing anything like that right now. And I'm sure you have a list of agents in front of you. It's probably best if you move on to your next prospect and get some business.
That's awesome.
They never argue with me about that.
Neither would I. And by the way, I cold called a lot of people, and I had a lot of people say, put me on your do not call list, to which my response was always the same. Thank you so much. We'll put you on our do not call list. Please allow 1 to 2 weeks for it to process through our system. We will always honor that request. I will tell you that most people, interestingly, don't ask for that. Plus, you should be scrubbing for the do not call list anyway. So if they're on the DNC, you're not calling them. EXP has that expectation, so would I. But what I can tell you is this. Cold prospecting scares people because they're like, well, I'm going to face a lot of rejection. Yes, that's the point. But as we saw from slide number, whatever it was today, I don't remember which number, right? If you are simply willing to make more contact, guess what? You will do more transactions. Well, I close 100% of the conversations I have. Yeah, it's because you're having one conversation, right? Have more conversations. Let's see how it goes. Have 500 conversations. If you close all 500 of those, you'll be the #1 producer in North America, right? So take all that great skill that you have and choose to go out and set up in the batting cage and actually swing the bat. And don't just set up T-ball for yourself and pretend like you're in the major leagues, right? Jeffrey, that for me, that's the difference. Yes, sir.
Hey, Jeffrey, first of all, scripts are not about being used for cold calling. Right. So first of all, that's not the only way. So that is the tendency people have to think is like, oh, scripts are for cold calling. No, they're not. The truth is we should be using scripts in almost all areas of our lives. They're going to save us a lot of ways from screwing up. I have certain scripts that I know that my wife's getting irritated at me. If I just don't say certain things and I say other things, I'm likely going to be escaping from that with less damage. Okay? That's not a cold call. That's just living my life better. So, I mean, you all have done that. You all have them. So you've either got scripts that are not working or you've got scripts that are working. So trust me, you're using them right now in all areas of your life. They're just whether they're effective or not effective. And the question we have with real estate guys is if we want to win, and what I mean by winning is not just us doing more deals. If you truly believe that you're a professional and you truly believe that you can serve the client at the highest level, then it's your job to learn the words that is going to most likely help them be able to use your services. Versus this idea that I'm manipulating people. And that's what I hear all the time. I'm manipulating people, or I'm going to do this. This isn't really me. Well, what are you talking about? I'll say words, whatever I need to say words, as long as it's ethical and honest. As long as because my intent isn't about me. My intent is about serving you guys.
Yep.
My intent is about serving that client. As long as I'm doing it in an honest and ethical way, I'll change the tone that I talk in. I'll change what I'm saying. But I'm never going to change my integrity. Okay. But I'm going to change what I need to say to accomplish the goals to serve you guys.
John, I love your point.
We're going to win more. And we win more, we can serve more people. And everything gets better when we're serving more people, we're winning more, we have more confidence to serve more people. We can give more to charity, we can do all kinds of things. So get out of the thought that it's manipulative or I'm beyond that. Or it's inauthentic. That's
I love it. It is.
That is bullshit thinking. It's about getting out of your own way and serving other people at the highest level with integrity.
Well, John, and you know, the interesting point that you just made is you're using scripts, whether you know it or not. They become you. Chances are, if you've been in the industry for 20 years, you've been saying the same things for a long time. The question is, are those things the very best things that you could be saying? You're probably saying them roughly the same way every time, and that's why your business looks roughly the same every year.
There's two scripts. There's the scripts of what we say, and then the other is I can talk to a lot of people. It's the script they keep running in their minds.
Yeah.
Of how they look at the world and how they see things. Even the scripts that some of you are saying in your mind when we talk about doing scripts. It's a script that's running over and over. That's bullcrap. I shouldn't have to do that. I'm natural. Well, that's a script you've been telling yourself over and over. And the question is it working to get the results you want? If it is, God bless you. If you're happy with those results, God bless. If it's not, then maybe we got to change the scripts that we're using out of our mouth. And we got to change the scripts that we're using in our subconscious and our conscious mind. Because that's where most of the problems are, at least in my life, and most of ours.
Yeah. That's amazing, John. And honestly, I don't think I could make that point any better. So I'm going to wrap right there, my friend. That is absolutely incredible. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We're the community. People like us go out and use scripts and think about what we're going to say in advance. I love you guys so much, and it's always a good time to spend time with you. So go out there, have great conversations with people, and think about your words before you say them, not as you're saying them. You watch your results double, triple, quadruple. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.